everybody. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio, your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, and Abundant TV. We're syndicated on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Again, thank you so much for being with us today. Hope you get some really good information, and this is all about buying local. We have an awesome sponsor, Lone Tree Ranch. They're located in Collinsville, Alabama. I think they ship all over the country. Don and Judy Hunton, actually the pastor of the Cowboy Church we go to, and the telephone number there is 256-523-6462. Get in contact with them about your meat products. They raise beef, and this is where Phil and I buy all of our beef. We have the freezer full. You can buy a whole cow if you'd like to do that, or half. Go in with a friend if you'd like to have a quarter, and they'll take care of all of that stuff for you too. Process, they take care of that for you as well. I'm going to talk to you about 12 things that you should know to save money and time from buying your beef or maybe even your hog local. So let's talk about that. It'll save you a whole lot of money and time in the long run. I'll have to tell you about the folks here at Lone Tree Ranch. We bought our beef working on almost a year ago. Still good. Never had that kind of quality beef from the grocery store before. And I know my granddad used to raise, we're living on the farm where he used to raise cattle, and all of our beef always seemed to be, it just lasted longer. There was something about, we knew what was fed to the cows and to his pigs and to his chickens and what have you. So it's really important to buy local. And then another thing, the supply chain is just, we don't know what to expect. I'd rather buy local from Lone Tree Ranch. That way I know I've got good quality beef. So let's talk about, why should you do that? Why should you do it? Buying from a share of a cow and a hog can save money and time, and you know exactly where that beef came from. We talked about that, and you're also buying in bulk. And I'll have to tell you, the best steaks ever. And I'll have to tell you, every time I cook steak, people are loving it. So let's talk about this. I haven't been doing this that long. We lived in Charlotte, North Carolina, lived pretty much well in town. Didn't have the big freezer and all that stuff to keep beef. And it was always kind of a hassle to go shop for it and, you know, finding the sale prices and that kind of thing. And it's a hassle to shop. I'm not a shopper. I'm just really not. So this has really worked out for me, buying my beef this way. So let's talk about why in the world should we do that? And what are the advantages of buying beef in bulk? And you can let them know what you would like. I told them we mainly wanted ground beef. We do a lot of, you know, spaghetti and meatballs and hamburgers and stuff like that. And then I also told them I would like to have maybe some steaks and then also some roast. And so that's what they supplied us with. It was absolutely awesome. So when meat is purchased in small quantities at the grocery store, most folks have no idea who raised it. You don't know that it come from China. You don't know where it came from and how it lived or how it died or the conditions of where it actually spent its life. These things are more and more important as people are beginning to start paying attention to the food system. Yeah, people enjoy knowing that the animal produced for their table was raised by the same people who drop it off at their door. They also enjoy knowing that their money will support the local economy, and that's another thing. You know, the pastor of a cowboy church doesn't take a salary, so this is their living. Makes me want to go shop in my beef from Lone Tree Ranch. You can also talk to the farmer directly. People get direct answers from the farmer, then not always about the meat on the label at the grocery store, to questions about grass versus grain-fed diets of the animal, types of grain used to feed the animals, and how the farmer vaccinates its herd, or the type of medical program the farmer uses to treat animals that could become sick. Many of the misconceptions about eating meat can be asked to the farmer who raises the animal, and the customer can actually establish trust in the way the animal was raised. I've got to know that. I want to know they were taken care of. You'd have to know Don and Judy Hutton, by the way. Such sweet people. You know, they're kind to their animals. You always have meat on hand is another reason you want to buy in bulk. You can't beat the convenience of having so much in the freezer, and when you want to make a meal, you've got a main ingredient on hand, and it's right there. Absolutely. It's just the quality is just so much better. Now, what are the downsides to buying bulk meat? Maybe you need extra space. Even sharing a quarter cow or hog with another family can mean a lot of meat. If you have a small freezer and it's already packed, buying in bulk may not be right for you. It is an upfront investment. You pay for 6 to 12 months of meat all at once, and some families don't have the budget for a one-time payment. That inventory is so valuable, some families actually add the freezer and contents to their homeowner's insurance plan. I think that's a great idea. Bulk meat stash is the first thing that you always think of when the power goes out. But there are things that you should know about that. Your freezer is going to be okay for hours. Just don't keep opening and shutting the lid, okay? So you'll be okay. You won't know the exact price when ordering because the retail weight is so different from the live weight. It's different. And you won't have an exact figure when you place your order, but the farmer should be able to give you kind of a ballpark. And I know Don and Judy will work with you on that. You get a lot of different cuts. This is either an upside or a downside. It's an upside for us, depending on how you like to cook. If you only want to cook certain cuts, like boneless pork chops, or a specific kind of steak, then maybe bulk meat's not for you. But when you buy a portion of a whole animal, you get lots of different cuts, some of which you may not be familiar with. A few folks were disappointed when denied a pig because they wanted all bacon. You may need to Google how to prepare new to your cuts of meat, or better yet, ask the farmer directly. That's the neat thing about Don and Judy. I just ask, well, this is a cut I'm not used to. How should I cook it? That's all you got to do. That's your local person right there. And they're going to have lots of good ideas and tips on hand as well. Let me tell you something about cooking a steak. A lot of folks say, well, I don't want to do that because I really don't want to put that kind of money in and maybe ruin the steaks. I mean, you got to know what you're doing when you're cooking steak, right? I got easy. This is so easy. Yesterday, we had cube steak. So Mother came over to the house and I cooked Sunday dinner. And there it was, cube steak. Let me tell you how I did it. And I cook all the steaks the exact same way. I like my iron skillet, okay? So I put just a little bit of grease, just a couple of tablespoons of vegetable oil in there and let it get hot. And then I went on ahead and you know what? I didn't even beat the chopped steak. I don't even beat my steaks either. So it's this easy. A lot of folks say, well, you got to get that hammer. You got to hammer it. No, you don't. Let me tell you what you do. So you're going ahead and pan sear it for about 3, depending on the doneness and how much you would like to have that grill on there. So, or the way it looks on the outside. So I do about 3 or 4 minutes, pan sear it on each side. I love browning bags, or you can use foil for this. And I'll have to tell you, the cleanup is real easy too. So this is what I did to the cube steaks. I went on ahead and pan seared about 3 minutes on each side. Then I went on ahead and I didn't put salt or anything on it. Okay, I only pan seared. Then I went on ahead and put it in a browning bag and I put some steak sauce on top of it. And then I went on ahead and tied that browning bag. I put one hole so the steam can escape. Put it in the oven for about 30 minutes and we didn't even need a knife. If you come to my house for steak, you're never going to need a knife. That's exactly how I do it. And it's just a better cut of meat. You can actually use your fork and cut it. Again, no knife. So you can make a steak too. You can cook it. It's that easy. But those browning bags are cooking it in really good aluminum foil is a good way to do that. And if you want to cook out on the grill, you can't mess it up. Go ahead and pan sear it first, about 3 or 4 minutes on each side. Doesn't take long to do that. Put it on the platter. Let it just kind of set at room temperature just for a few minutes. Get that grill going. Go ahead and put those steaks on the grill, depending on your doneness. And by the way, I cook mine all the way through. I can take a little pink, but I'd rather have it mostly done. And even, sometimes you go out to eat and you get a steak and you say, I want it well done. You kind of have like practically a chainsaw to cut it. Not with this beef, and not if you'll do it exactly the way I said to do it. It's going to be really, really good and tasty. Okay, now how much meat should I order? The farmer should be able to tell you roughly how many pounds of beef that you'll get in a quarter or a half share. For us, we typically get about a quarter of a cow, and I've not done the hog yet. When they start raising hogs, if they ever do, I'm going to get my hog meat from them too. That gives us about enough to last many months, and we actually split the cost. Actually, a friend kind of reneged on me just a little bit. She was supposed to buy a quarter of that, and I wound up with a half a cow. But that's okay. I got plenty of room. And again, it's that I don't have to shop for beef for over a year. It's been almost a year. We still have plenty of beef. And you know how when you buy ground beef from the grocery store, if you don't hurry up and use that up within just a couple of months, it has this weird smell to it. This is awesome. I can get, again, this ground beef that's been in my freezer for a year almost. I can take that out and fix us some burgers, and it's just as good as if it had just been freshly done. So it just lasts longer. I don't know what. It's something in the cut, I guess. Okay, let's see. If we're going to talk about hogs just for a minute. So if you wanted to buy from a local hog farmer, typically a quarter share is going to be about 30 or 40 pounds of pork. A half share is 60 to 80 pounds, and a full would be 120 to 160 pounds. Okay, now a 1,000-pound steer translates to about 150 pounds of beef for a quarter share. I wound up with 300 pounds for a half share and 600 pounds for a full share. And again, I still got plenty of beef I've cooked, and people come over for like Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that. I still got plenty of beef. Okay, now let me just keep in mind these weights include the bone and the fat on the meat too, okay? All right, now is it cheaper to buy meat in bulk? In some cases, yes. In this case, yes. I would hate to know what it cost me, for all of this meat if I had bought it all at the grocery store and I bought it in segments. I didn't buy it all, put it in the freezer. And so, first of all, you got to think about gas. You got to think about, am I getting the cut that I want? I mean, am I getting leftover pieces from the grocery store? Did they have hamburger meat on sale? Did they have steaks on sale? And somebody got there before me and got all the better pieces? I got the best of it all right here because I went to Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Okay, now is it cheaper? Yes. In the case with Lone Tree Ranch, it is. In some cases, yes, but I'm going to say for my case, yes. Let's say the price for your bulk beef order averages about $4 a pound. That's higher for a typical ground chuck, but it's a great price on steaks. So I wound up paying about a little bit less than $4 a pound for steaks. And now they have just really went up in price in the grocery store, and you're going to be paying even more per pound if you get it at the grocery store. The law of averages works out for the customer in the end. You're only paying the farmer and the processor, no middleman cost or transportation or grocery store markups, and that does definitely mean savings, okay? Now, in other cases, buying in bulk may not save you money over grocery store sale prices, but the value lies in knowing exactly where the meat came from and in supporting the local farmer right there who also pastors the cowboy church. Okay, now, does buying bulk meat require a separate freezer? No, it doesn't. I've got everything. Everything is in the freezer. I don't have one for meat and one for anything else, okay? So not necessarily, but it could be helpful. Now, a chest freezer definitely makes buying anything in bulk more manageable. Because I've got two small freezers. And I could divide everything up. I just haven't, And so if you have a standard fridge freezer, you can split a quarter share with two or more families. So you still get local meat, just a smaller amount, okay? Now, here's a rule of thumb. When using the freezer, when buying freezers, you need to have a 2.25 cubic feet space per 50 pounds of food, okay? A quarter of a cow, about 125 pounds of meat requires 5.6 cubic feet of space, according to Ohio Beef Council. And also, it's all in the way you place it, okay? You need to think about that as well. I have moved furniture around and in a room before, and then someone come over and say, "Did you get rid of some of your furniture?" And I would say, "No, why?" And they would say, "It looks bigger in here. Looks like you probably got rid of some of your furniture." And nope, still the same stuff. It's just in the way I arranged it. Same thing for your freezer. It's going to be all in the way you arrange the food inside your freezer. So that's key. That's important. Okay, where can I buy meat in bulk near me? Lone Tree Ranch right here in Collinsville, Alabama, 256-523-6462. Don and Judy Hunting, okay? And by the way, I love looking at pictures of Judy out there she's a worker. I'm going to tell you what, she really knows how to get stuff done. She really they both do. They treat their animals very kindly. You always ask at your local farmer's market, butcher shop, or university extension office. When you reach out to a farmer, ask when they'll have meat available. Unlike a grocery store, farmers don't always have the meat ready. Well, they don't. They don't have it ready year round. For example, beef farms may only have calves born once or twice a year, and those animals won't be ready until the following year. So be prepared to wait for your bulk meat. In some cases, it could be several months. Okay, let's talk about questions. What kind of questions should I ask Don and Judy Hunton at Lone Tree Ranch? Okay, I'm going to give you a few. Are processing fees included in the price, or are they a separate charge? The farmer supplies the animal, but it's processed into cuts of meat at another location. So when I buy bulk beef, I pay the farmer one fee and the processor another. When I buy pork from someone else, I can pay them a fee that includes both. Sometimes that just happens with pork. Okay, here's another question. How are the animals fed and raised? Okay, if grass versus grain-fed is important to you, you need to inquire, okay? What should you know about grass-fed beef? You want to ask about antibiotics and hormones, or time spent on pasture versus a feedlot or confinement. Don't be shy. Farmers want their customers to have that right information. So I'm going to go on ahead. I've got a few minutes. Let's go on ahead and talk about what is grass-fed beef. Okay, here's some facts you need to know about that. Okay, this is an author, the person who wrote this put realmomnutrition.com, and so this is her article about this. Okay, she says, wondering if grass-fed beef is healthier than regular beef. So these are some of the facts about it. So here's what she says. Last summer, I was invited to visit a cattle farm and a feedlot with the Ohio Beef Council. She said, I'll be safe. My first reaction was, why on earth would I want to visit a feedlot? And by the way, Don and Judy will let you come by and look at everything. They're tickled to do that. Okay, so she says, when I quickly checked myself as someone who buys, cooks, and eats beef, I should see for myself where my food is coming from. Now, as a dietitian and blogger who feels a lot of questions from people about what kind of food to buy, including meat, it makes sense for me to know the facts. So when I went to the feedlot and I found out some things I thought I knew about cattle and beef were wrong, actually. So especially when it came to grass-fed beef. Grass-fed beef is something I bought in the past from local farmers in bulk. I still like buying meat in bulk, and I still like the flavor of grass-fed beef, and that's what Don and Judy have. But it turns out some of my thinking on the topic was a bit black and white. So after the visit and a long time on the phone with Francis, as a PhD right there, Fluharty, a research professor from the Department of Animal Sciences at the Ohio State University, to talk about it. This post isn't sponsored by anyone, and I wasn't paid to write it. I just wanted to share what I've learned. So if you need to buy beef on hand, and you'll be a bit more informed. Okay, here's a fact. What you need to know about grass-fed beef. Fact. All cows eat grass. They love grass. And this has always been my argument for years. And I chuckled around with Don and Judy on this. I said, here's something I've been told forever. Eat salads, they're going to keep you thinner. Cows eat salads, don't they? When they're eating, cows eat salads. Okay, all right, you get my gist about that. Okay, now, here documentaries like Food.Inc. make it seem like cattle spend their entire lives in a pen eating grain. And some probably do. If you've got, stuff coming from the grocery store, it probably has. She said, I've also read articles online that compare grass-fed cattle to cattle raised in feedlots. But for the first 7 months of life, all cattle are grass-fed cows. They graze on grass, drink their mother's milk, and spend a lot of time in pasture. It's only when they're transferred from the pasture to the feedlot that they're fed a diet that's higher in grain, about 65 to 70% corn, but it still contains some hay and some forage for the last 6 or 8 months of their lives. Why do you think I buy from Lone Tree Ranch? They're always out there on the grass. Okay, fact, grass-fed beef is not the same as grass-finished beef. Let's go and just dig a little bit. All cattle eat grass. If you want to buy grass-fed beef from cattle that have spent their entire lives eating only grass, make sure you're getting 100% grass-fed beef. sometimes called grass-finished beef. Now here's another fact. Grass-fed is not the same as organic beef. Unlike conventionally raised cattle, 100% grass-fed cattle must have access to pasture their entire lives and be only pasture and forage fed with no grain. But as with conventional, there are no restrictions on pesticide use on the farm or use of antibiotics. Likewise, beef labeled organic could from the cattle that were grain-fed too. That brings a whole new idea, right? That's why I buy from Don and Judy. If you want truly organic, 100% grass-fed beef, you're going to have to go to a local farmer. Okay, and then you got to question some of them. This one I know is truthful. Here's a fact. 100% grass-fed beef is hard for many farmers to produce. Now this lady is speaking from Ohio. Here in Ohio, farmers need 1 to 2 acres for every cow or calf pair they have. That acreage requirement goes up in other places, and in some very dry areas of the Southwest, it could be 25 acres. While cattle are also grain-fed, go to the market just 13 to 15 months of life, cattle that are entirely grass-fed take 20 to 24 months to be ready and result in lighter weight cattle and less meat per animal. That requires an enormous amount of land and time, something that's not feasible for some farmers. That's why you need to ask questions when you're buying your food, okay? And in climates that have harsh winters like Ohio, it's impossible for cows to graze outdoors all year long. That's why it's so neat to be here in Alabama, you know? Okay, here's a fact. Grass-fed beef may not necessarily be healthier. Is grass-fed beef healthier than regular beef? It's often cited for being richer in healthy fats. That's true, that cattle raised only on grass do produce meat that's higher in CLA, a fat that's been studied for possible heart health benefits. Yet, CLA is largely found in fat that many people trim off. CLA is also found in the fat that's marbled through the beef, but grass-fed beef tends to be leaner with less marbling overall than conditional beef. Here's a fact right here. Fact, Food Inc. doesn't represent all farms. Like most people, I've watched Food Inc. and was horrified by what I saw, but since then I've had the opportunity to visit several different kinds of farms, both organic and conventional, and meet the people who run them. I've also been able to talk candidly with farmers, and they're saddened by the way they're depicted in that film and others. There will also be bad apples in every industry. Remember that. You got to vent so I'm talking to folks in all 50 states and all over the world right now. I got a good one right here, Lone Tree Ranch. And it's worth a drive if you live anywhere in Alabama or Tennessee or Mississippi, or you live in Georgia. It's worth a drive to go right here to Lone Tree Ranch. There'll always be bad apples and everything. There are bad talk show hosts, for goodness sakes, who don't give you the true information. That doesn't mean that I have to be that way. Okay, but the farmers I've talked with too care about their animals, and they want to provide good food for consumers. Okay, now the bottom line on grass-fed beef. When you buy beef, buy the kind you can afford that tastes best to you. Grass-fed beef is slightly different flavor, and I like it. If you're specifically looking for 100% grass-fed beef or organic beef, read the labels carefully. Please do that. Okay, we're going to have to go into a commercial break. And we're going to be right back in just a few minutes because I have some more awesome topics. Some things we're going to be talking about local farmers and what to buy, how to buy your beef, and that kind of thing. So you hang in there. I'm going to be right back in just a few minutes. The Hatter Cafe and Country Inn is nestled in the northeast corner of Alabama the Beautiful in the delightful town of Mentone. We're located on top of scenic Lookout Mountain near Little River and DeSoto State Park and located only 5 minutes from shopping and restaurants. There is also a nearby community walking path and golf course. We welcome everyone through the doors, and we are committed to outstanding service for all guests. At the Hatter Cafe and Country Inn, we invite people from all walks of life to come and get away from it all, enjoy the open spaces, treetop views, fresh, clean air, and experience Southern hospitality at its finest. We look forward to hosting you. To reserve a special event, or if you would love a special getaway at the Country Inn, you can call us at 256-634-2018. Let Rhonda at Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC take the burden off you for all your tax needs. I know because Rhonda has been taking care of my business since 2013. I feel Rhonda works for me because she knows the direct questions to ask to better benefit my unique business in order for me to get back the biggest refund possible. Rhonda is an ongoing student, and she knows tax laws are in a constant change every year. Call 256-281-9903 for an appointment to take the dread out of getting your taxes done. Rhonda is located at 11968 U.S. Highway 431 in Boaz. Again, that number is 256-281-9903. And let Rhonda's Elite Tax LLC champion your personal and business taxes.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and my employees and I want to thank each and every one of you for your continued support. With everything going on right now, your rest is so important. That's why we're having the biggest MyPillow sale ever. Not only are my bed pillows as low as $19.98, but you can get the best body pillows ever. Regular $89.98, now only $29.98. Take your rest on the go with our Roll and Go Anywhere MyPillows for only $14.98. And we have our new couch and accent pillows. They aren't just for looks. They have MyPillow's patented adjustable fill that gives you that amazing MyPillow comfort. In this economy, you get the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code and you get deep discounts on body, couch, bolster pillows, and so much more, including my original bed pillows for as low as $19.98. Please order now while quantities last.
Jeff McCurdy of the McCurdy Law Firm has been a public service of this area for over 10 years. McCurdy, a member of the Henniger City Council, serves as prosecutor for the town of Sylvania and was named public defender for the city of Rainsville. The McCurdy Law Firm is located at 17326 Alabama Highway 75 in Henniger to better represent his Jackson and DeKalb County clients. If you need to be represented by a true public servant with proven success, call Jeff at 256-996-8701 or send a private email to mccurdylawfirm@gmail.com. No representation is made that the legal services performed is greater than the legal services performed by other lawyers. At Liberty Bank, we're all about community, whether it's to help with a charity fundraiser or help families in need. Toys at Christmas or a local football team, we're here for you. You see, we realize the importance of family. Sometimes it's to build a new home or necessary home repairs. We're here for you. If you like the feel of a small town bank with all the conveniences of a big city bank, we're here to serve you. You will find us at any of our convenient locations in DeKalb, Marshall, Etowah, and Blount counties in North Alabama. You can call and speak with any of our friendly staff at 256-659-2175 or check us out on the web at libertybankal.com. And thank you for your support of our community. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender. The only place I buy my beef is Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama. Their cattle is born and raised on their ranch, grass and grain fed, and you can feel confident when you serve your family and friends because their beef is all natural and no antibiotics or hormones are added. You can buy whole beef or perhaps go in with family or friends and buy half. Their customer service is number one as they take care of the delivery to their local processor and can deliver to your home for a small added fee. They also offer herd replacement heifers. I always call Lone Tree Ranch in Collinsville, Alabama for my beef specialty recipes and cookouts, and you can too. food shortages are increasing, so buy local by calling 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462. At Lamone's Mexican Restaurant, located in Henniger, Alabama, and voted Best Mexican Restaurant of DeKalb County, Alabama 2020, we're here to serve you with authentic Mexican cuisine. Order easily online by going to lamonsmex.com or call 256-657-3999 to place your order. We're open Sunday through Thursday 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. and Friday and Saturday 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. Whether you're celebrating a cozy date night for two or a celebration for a crowd, at Lamone's you'll love our atmosphere and friendly servers. Thank you for dining with Lamone's Mexican Restaurant. Begin a great year and save big money with these specials at Albertville Foodland Plus. A 5-pound bag of red or gold potatoes only $2.99 each. Warm up with Campbell's Chunky Soup, 2 for $4. Slim down with gold salads, only $2.99 each. And make sure to check out the deli with fresh veggies and tasty pork chops or hand-battered chicken fingers, only $5.99. Check us out on the web at shop.foodlandgrocery.
Are you ready?
We all wonder what tomorrow will bring, but the future lays itself at the feet of the prepared and surrenders to the will of the persistent. It's not easy, but today shapes you so you can shape tomorrow. With Northeast Alabama Community College, when the future asks if you're ready, you can answer.
Yes.
Begin your future at Northeast Alabama Community College.
Okay, we are back. My name is Donna Thiesel, and I'm your host of The Edge on IC Radio. We are your source for news and entertainment. You can also find us on television, channel 182 on Charter Communications, as well as Abundant TV, which is found on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. So we're really proud to be syndicated, and thank you, Rob Patz, for making that happen. We definitely appreciate it. We are talking about buying local beef. And we kind of hinted a little bit about buying your cattle and your pigs and whatever locally. It's really, really important. There are questions you need to ask your local person, your local farmer. I buy everything from Laundry Ranch. It's the absolute best. I know the farmers. I know Don and Judy Hunton, and Don is the pastor of Cowboy Church, and you know they don't take a salary from Cowboy Church's pastor. This is their livelihood. This is how they make a living. You can call them at 256-523-6462. You can see it right there on the screen, 256-523-6462. They're local to the community, well worth your travels anywhere in Alabama. If you'd like to go from Mississippi, Tennessee, wherever you live, in Georgia, it's well worth it because they do take good care of their cattle. And they're great. They're fed on the farm. No hormones, no antibiotics, nothing like that. They're just as free as to walk across all that farm land. And again, the neat thing about a winter right here in Alabama is, you know, we don't have those harsh cold winters. And they're cold, but not as harsh as if you're buying your beef from somewhere up north. So here are a few questions that you should ask your farmer. And the one we started with was, are processing fees included in the price? I always ask. Some farmers do, some don't. Are the animals fed and raised? How are they fed and raised? We talk about that. And this is grass-fed versus grain-fed. And let me tell you something else. When you're buying products, anything, okay, if something says, oh, it has, I bought shampoo this way, okay, they'll say it has cocoa butter in it. Look on the label. The label may look as if it's just almost cocoa butter. But if you look on the label, you look under the ingredients, whatever the ingredient is most of is going to be the first ingredient you see. So if you see that it has all these things, you can't even pronounce what the name is, and then at the very end of it, it says cocoa butter, I promise you, there's nothing there's nothing to keep these people from doing the right thing, okay? So it may only, for like, I don't know, for say 16 ounces, you may have half a teaspoon of cocoa butter in it. You know, so nothing actually governs that. But if you buy from a local farmer, they are governed by that. They absolutely are. So that's another thing I like about Don and Judy. Okay, now here's another question. And this question is, can you make special requests? You can with them. Okay, I just told them I wanted a little bit of everything. I wanted hamburger meat, ground beef, and I also wanted steaks, and I wanted some roast in there as well, because I cook all of that stuff. When ordering beef, I can tell the processor whether I want ground beef formed into burgers, how thick I want the steaks to be cut. They ask me about that, by the way. How thick do you want your steaks? And what size in pounds that you would like. And this is what I tell them. I said, most of the time it's just filling me. So I would like to have some single servings. Do you know they did that for me? I said, well, I'd like to have enough just for filling me to have like a steak, you know, for supper. I don't want everything in like a big package that I've got to cook the whole thing for. And that's been really handy. Now, some things I did want, like if I'm having company come over, maybe it's handier to go in ahead and have in bigger, bulky packaging. So, you know, they will work to you. They will work for you right here at Lone Tree Ranch. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit more. You can tell them how thick you would like to have those steaks cut, what size in pounds, and like maybe what size in pound you would prefer the roast. If I know that, and this is another thing with the roast, I really don't care how big that is, because I'm going to cut that, I'm going to cook it, and I'm going to use that for several servings. And this is another thing about this beef that you buy from Lone Tree Ranch, is it tastes good after you've cooked it and you put it in the freezer. So let's say I'm going to throw it in my crock pot. I'm going to cook that roast, you know, for several hours. We'll eat off of it, and then what I'm going to do is divide it into pieces. And I always like to kind of have mine sliced. I've got a little slicer I use. And by the way, it's so tender. You need really it needs to be cold before you slice it, because it's such tender meat. So what I'll do is I'll put it in several bags, and I use the good freezer bags. You've all heard me harp on this. Okay, you got to have good freezer bags. I know we're all saving money, but got to be good ones. And then what I'll do is put the slices, and I'm going to layer it. Okay, I want a small layer, and then I want it like this because I can break off what I want to use. So let's say Phil says, you know what? I'd like to have some roast beef, but I want it in a salad. I can do that. It's really easy to do. So I'm going to have some of that roast beef in slices, and then I'm going to have some of it kind of chopped up, which is going to be easier if I want to have it in a salad. So, you know, it's up to you. But anyway, I like the way they worked with me on the sizes that I wanted. And again, I wanted some of it in, you know, just enough for the two of us. And then if the kids come over, I'm like, oh my goodness, you got to have it like half the freezer for them when they come over. And by the way, you'll save so much money in this, you can afford to give your kids some of the beef if they're married and they're out on their own. Okay, so yeah, they will do it, and in whatever size you would like for it to be in pounds. Also, you can have them fill out, like if you just really don't, this is the first time I've ever done this before. Dawn and Judy will work with you on that, because I really didn't know. I never bought it like this before. I just remember back in the day, my granddad would have a cow butchered, and I remember how they did it, kinda. You know what I mean? And I love the packaging, by the way. They do, and they do it airtight, because you know we've all heard that air is an enemy in the freezer, and that's probably why that beef lasts so long. I just thought about that. Yeah, there's no air in that packaging. So yeah, that's probably why it lasts so long. Okay, now let's talk about we've talked about beef, you know, with cattle. Let's talk a little bit about the hog. So if you're going to do like the hog, it can be the types of seasoning that you want for your sausage. Maybe I get child mild sausage for us when I buy it, and I got to find me a local hog farmer. So I can do like the sausage, you know, because we want it child mild. Some people want it hot. Like my son will add hot sauce to everything, even mashed potatoes. He wants everything to be hot. I put a lot of pepper on all of my stuff. So they will make this actually to your specifications. If you want it to be like hot, or if you want it to be child mild like we do ours, they'll do that for you as well. And then some people want to keep that fat that comes and they want it rendered into lard. And I'm gonna have to tell you, lard has had a bad reputation. It really has. It's really good. You can use lard for so many things. Really, the best biscuits are made out of lard. They're the best. And they're so flaky, and the biscuits are so tender the way you'd like to have them. And there's a lot of stuff you can do with lard. You can actually make soap out of lard. Did you know that? Yeah, when I actually make some of my soaps, I do use lard for rendering. Yeah, that's with your lye soap, by the way. Okay, now if you don't have someone who can split a share with you, there are other customers who might. So that's what I did. I talked with the other people that I knew were looking for, local, grass-fed, done right. And so that's another thing you can do. Get your friends to go in with you. Now, I would, because I had somebody I thought was a friend, and they said they were going to do, we both ordered a half together. And so I was going to get a quarter, she was going to get a quarter, and at the very last minute, she didn't want to do it. So what you might want to do is go ahead and tell them, say, well, I got to have the money now before I order it, because I don't want to get stuck with all of it if I don't have room for it, okay? So make sure you got that up with your friends. Now, if you don't have someone who can split a share with you, there will be other customers who might. So you might, well, like if I just wanted a quarter this time, I've learned I'm getting like a half from this point on. But if I wanted only a quarter, because I only have room for a quarter, I can ask Don and Judy, do you know somebody else who only wants a quarter? And I'll go in with them and we'll get a half. Okay, so you can always ask. Do they deliver, or do you need to pick up the meat? And can you visit the farm? Yeah, you can visit the farm. And they would love to have you out there visiting the farm. Now, what are the cuts of meat I can expect when buying freezer meat in bulk? Oh, and by the way, freezers, a lot of folks, like there was a time I would not have done this because freezers use a lot of energy. And so your thoughts are, oh my goodness, is it going to be worth it in the long run? Because I have like a hog for a freezer. This thing just eats up electricity. No. They're made much more efficient now. And also you can go online, you can go to Facebook and go into their buying groups, and you can probably find maybe somebody's moving. A lot of times people move and maybe they're going to downsize when they move. They decide they don't want a freezer anymore. Ask questions about the freezer though. How old is it? How much energy does it use? Okay, now let's talk about the cuts of meat. Okay, now the author goes on to say, and by the way, this website is realmomnutrition.com, realmomnutrition.com. Okay, so you can get ground beef and burger patties. I just opted for the ground beef because sometimes I just do a meatloaf. And I said, no, you don't have to worry about that. So we'll just do the ground beef. And so I had some of it in 1 pound packages, and then I had some of it in 2 pound packages. I'm thinking somebody comes over, whatever, then I've got it. Steaks including ribeye, sirloin, T-bone, and flank. I got it all. Okay. You can get ribs. Now you can get roast including chuck, arm, and rump. Stew meat. I didn't do that. You can do brisket. An option to get items like liver, tongue, and soup bones. I didn't do any of that. Okay, now let's talk about the shares of pork that you can get that are included. You can get sausage, bacon, pork chops, roast included bone-in loin. You can get Boston butt and shoulder. You can also get spare ribs, ham. You can options to get other things like liver, heart, soup bones, and lard. I would include the lard on that. Again, it's really, really good in cooking. Okay, now what else should I consider before buying beef in bulk? Okay, now since the quality or the grade of beef can vary between animals, there's no way for the farmer to know the exact grade of the beef or what it will be that it's done in the plant when the meat is chilling. Now the farmer can typically tell you whether the animal will grade select, choice, or prime, but cannot guarantee or label this animals when they sell it live. Okay, we're going to talk in a few minutes, if we have time, we're going to talk about the difference between select, choice, or prime. Select, choice, or prime. Now, if you want a heavier marbled beef, let's talk about that. You can ask the farmer to help select that for you. Some animals will never grade prime based on their genetics and the feeding program, so it wouldn't be fair to expect prime graded meats from certain types of animals or from certain types of farms. Most farmers can give a range of where their animals will grade. They might say things like high choice to low prime or somewhere in the choice range. And for your information, customers regularly wish they had ordered more burgers and ground beef, so keep that in mind as well. Yeah, because we do a lot of beanie burger. Did I tell you what that recipe is? This is so easy. And I'll have to tell you, it's really good left over. So this is how you make beanie burger. You got to have your choice ground beef, okay, from Lone Tree Ranch. You want to scramble it up in your iron skillet. Okay, make sure it's done. Scramble it up really good. Then another thing you want to do is add your baked beans. Now, you don't have to do baked beans. You can also, any kind of bean will work. You can do even pinto beans works in it. But the little navy beans, those work as well. And then what you want, if you have your own homemade salsa, that's really good to do that. You can make, put barbecue sauce in there. Per couple of cans of beans, what you might want to do is put about a cup of either barbecue sauce or tomato ketchup. Now let me tell you how you make your own barbecue sauce. This is easy. So you want about a cup of tomato ketchup, and then what you want to do is add some molasses in it and some brown sugar, just according to your taste. You know, some people want it really sweet. If you want it really sweet, you want to put about 3/4 cup of brown sugar in it. And then you'll also want to put some spices in there. I like to put, you know, chives and stuff like that in mine. You want to put some onions in there. You need to saute the onions, by the way, for the best taste. Or you can just chop them up really fine and put it in. Okay, so back to the beanie burger. Real easy and quick, and it's even better left over. So make a lot of it at one time, okay? And keep it in the refrigerator. In a couple of days, eat it again. And maybe put a salad with it. That's real good with a salad. Okay, so again, your ground beef, about a pound of ground beef, especially with Lone Tree Ranch, because it'll be such good quality beef. And it really tastes like ground steak. That's what their beef tastes like, ground steak. Okay, so anyway, you're going to go ahead and cook that up, saute it, put your onions in there, saute it in there with it as well. What grease you're going to have, go ahead and drain it out if you'd like. I like to drain mine out. It's just a couple, 2 or 3 tablespoons of grease is all you're going to get anyway. So drain it out, let it set, put it back in there, get a couple of cans of either your navy beans or your baked beans, pour that in there, and then you want to get your barbecue sauce. I like to put about a cup of barbecue sauce or your homemade barbecue sauce. Put that in there. I'll have to tell you, the homemade barbecue sauce is pretty good. Then you want to cook it for about 20 minutes because your beans are already done. All you're going to do is mix the flavors together. I mean, that's basically all you're doing. And let it set while you're getting maybe your French bread done or your biscuits or your cornbread. Cornbread's really good with it as well. Put your little side salad. Get some broccoli. Steam your broccoli and put some cheese on top of it. And that's a really good meal. Doesn't cost a long time. Doesn't take a long time to do as well. Okay, let me get with this. Okay, I just wanted to share that really good beanie burger recipe. It is awesome. Okay, now let's talk about terms you need to know when buying your beef in bulk. Okay, the live weight. Now the weight of the live animal that's the live animal as it arrives at the processor. Okay, now this is another term. Dressed or hanging weight. Now this is the weight after the animal has been killed and gutted at the slaughterhouse. It's a very frequent way the farmer will sell shares of an animal. Feet, head, skin, and certain organs may not be included in this weight, depending on which processor is used. Okay, now retail and cut weight. So there's 3 different kinds. Retail or cut weight. This is the weight of the actual cuts of meat that arrive at your door. Okay, it's sometimes sold in bundles with a range of sizes. And again, you're usually the doctor of that. You're the one who tells them what size that you'd like to have it cut at. Okay, how long can I keep the meat in the freezer? Okay, according to the FDA, frozen foods can be kept indefinitely. I've used my freezer over a year. I mean, I have over a year. And this is, and it's actually the best quality. It really is. Okay, now for the best quality for bacon, and let's talk about that just for a minute. For bacon, 1 month. I've kept mine in a lot longer than that. Sausage, 1 to 2 months. I've kept it longer than that. Beef chops, 4 to 6 months. Steaks, 6 to 12 months. Roast, 4 to 12 months is what the FDA says. But I will just tell you, buying it from Lone Tree Ranch, I've kept mine in a lot longer and it still tastes good. Even the ground beef, it's like I've told you before, I've shopped at the grocery store before, buying the ground beef. If you don't use it in a good couple of months, it's gone. But at Lone Tree Ranch, I've still got some in here. It still tastes really, really good. Okay, let's see. I wanted to talk with you about, here's some questions. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to skip over those questions right there. Okay, how to organize a chest freezer. And I thought this was a pretty good article right here too, because this is the big deal. Big reason people don't want to order a quarter or a half cow is they're saying, I'm not going to have room in a freezer. Yeah, you can. It's all how you arrange it. So let's talk about that. Let's see. I thought this was funny. She says, if I go missing, I may have fallen into the chest freezer. Okay. Then she said, that's how I used to feel. I dug through the contents to find the package of bacon be at the very bottom. That can happen. That's the only thing about a chest freezer I don't like. Then a couple of years ago, I got tired of digging, got serious about getting organized. So let's talk about that. Chest freezers, though they're handy for penny pinching, food hoarding folks like us, they're kind of tricky to organize. You know, you've got the upright freezer. That's part of your refrigerator right there on one side probably, or at the very top. You can't cram as much stuff into that. It's going to fall out. But I love my chest freezer. I got 2 small ones. So here's what she says. Chest freezer is essentially a deep hole. Yeah, that's true. Some may be sold with a hanging basket for the top, but otherwise you're on your own. Okay, here's good news. Organizing a chest freezer can be done, and it's not hard or expensive. You'll need some chest freezer organization ideas, and she says, I have an easy 4-step process for you. Okay, now wait, should I get a freezer, a chest freezer? Let's talk about that for a minute. Do you like to prep meals in advance? Do you like to do that? Do you stock up where there's a sale? Do you buy meat in bulk, or like we do from Lone Tree Ranch? Or do you freeze lots of freshly picked produce or homemade stock? Do you have a vacant spot in your basement or garage? It actually happens. The freezers are actually in my studio. So they're back there. And this is another thing about buying the newer freezers. I remember back in the day, my grandparents had freezers, and they would be like loud. Like they had in one of their little, it's like a little room my grandparents had offside of the kitchen. And if you were sitting in that little room and a couch, it's like you couldn't hear anybody talk. The freezers were so loud. I've got freezers in here, and you can't even hear them, which is pretty awesome. Okay, so if a chest freezer would make your life easier, they can also help you save money. So let's talk about that for a second. Now, chest freezers are available in small, compact, which is mine. It's a 5 to 9 cubic foot. Medium is going to be 12 to 18, and large is going to be 18 plus, okay? We have the small 5 foot, but it still works for our family, and actually by having a half a cow, okay, in the freezers. We bought it at Lowe's. Mine was probably, Lowe's is one of our sponsors, by the way. So we bought this small freezer. I think it's somewhere around $150. And it's a good freezer. Keep in mind that a full freezer is more energy efficient than a half empty one. That's another thing. So the more you have in that freezer, the better off you're going to be. Okay, now let's get organized. Now, how to organize it. Step 1, create categories that make sense to you. Okay, so group your frozen food in categories like all the ground beefs go here. The frozen vegetables go here. Prepped freezer foods go here. Maybe you got jars of freezer jam or something like that. All of that goes there. Okay, and I'll have to tell you, for inventory reasons, I like to dry my beans. Okay, I don't put them in the freezer, and I don't can beans. I like them dried. And Phil likes them better anyway because the juice is actually thicker. And so that saves me on inventory space. It saves me cabinet space. It saves me canning. It also saves me space in that freezer. That's just my little take on it. Okay, step 2, place grouped foods items in the storage bins that fit your freezer. Your freezer may come with one basket or a bin, but you're going to need more. So insert some freezer organizer solutions. She says, the author of this, and it's realmomnutrition.com. Our rounded up bins we already had, and even a study cardboard box from around the house. Your storage system just needs to work for you. It doesn't have to look matchy-matchy. It doesn't have to look ripped from pages of container store catalog either. Don't worry about that. It's got to fit you and your lifestyle. Number 3, arrange the bins in layers. Now, the layered system is a game changers if you have a chest freezer. So here's how it works. You want to set 1 or 2 bins, boxes on the bottom of the freezer. Set another layer of 1 to 2 bins on top of those. Then you want to set another layer on top. So when you need something, all you got to do is remove the bins. Okay, so you don't have to like like 10 or 15 different items at a time. Just neatly removing the bins, okay? And have everything neatly stored inside those instead of having to dig through a cold, messy pile. She also says, I arrange my bins in opposing directions, but do what works for your space. Here's a pro tip. She says, I put most grabbed items on top and the less frequently grabbed items on the bottom. So here is an example. She's showing an example of how she actually stores hers. For the first, the second, and the third layer. So this is what I do. Oh, by the way, step 4, keep an inventory. That's important. Chest freezers can fall victim to black hole syndrome where you can't find stuff. So easily find a way to keep track of your stash, whether that's a whiteboard attached to the wall by the freezer, an app on your phone, or otherwise. These products make great chest organizers. Just be sure to measure your freezer and do check the dimensions of the product so that they will definitely fit. Absolutely. I like to store like my strawberries. Okay, so I always have a lot of strawberries. I still have some from last year in gallon bags. So I'm going to keep stuff I'm not going to use as much of in the bottom. I always keep a bag. I like to use my freezer connected to my refrigerator for things I'm going to be using a lot of. So it's handier to get to. So basically what I use those 2 small freezers for is just to keep everything until I need it. That works for me. Okay, because I found a store that actually has cheese. Instead of having to pay almost $20 for a big thing of cheese, I actually buy it in bulk. It costs $7 and something for the big package of cheese. And so what I do, I just keep it in there and I just get it out when I need it. That's all I use freezers for. Again, my refrigerator freezer, I use that one for the most needed items I'm going to use. I'll get a gallon of strawberries out of the small chest freezers, put it in the big freezer, and then we eat on the strawberries for breakfast or whatever. The rest of the strawberries will stay in the freezer. So that's how I work that out. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Donna Feazell, and I'm your host of The Edge on IACU Radio. You need to check with my friends at Lone Tree Ranch. Make sure you do that. Don and Judy Hunton. And you can call them at 256-523-6462. That's 256-523-6462. Thank you so much for watching. And do buy local wherever you live, okay?